securing your cloud?
Oh, if you've deployed security tools and they're telling you have a problem, pay attention.
Ah, that's some good advice. All right, Mark, I want you to do the opposite. Give me some bad advice on securing your cloud.
Well, bad advice is certainly, you know, to use Trend Micro. That's bad advice, right? No, I'm just kidding. No, seriously, bad advice would be to not have a solid contract. You don't have a solid contract with your cloud provider, you're in trouble. That has all of the security addendum and security pieces that are in there.
All right. Now, Mike, give me some worse advice than that.
Worse advice, playing off Mark. Worse advice, don't use any security solution. Just do it all yourself.
Well, you could. We'll see. All right, let's begin.
Get ready. It's Super Cyber Friday.
Hey, welcome everybody. It's Super Cyber Friday, and you know what that means. We are going to have a lot of fun today. For the next hour, we're talking hacking cloud security innovation. Now, we've talked a ton about cloud security on the show, but we're going to specifically target innovation, like what we have changed and can change, and where are there opportunities. An hour of critical thinking of how securing the cloud must evolve. All right, our guest who you just met, that's Mark Haupt. He's the CISO of DataBank. And the man with a little bit more hair than Mark is Mike Milner. He's the VP of Cloud Technology over at Trend Micro. Our sponsor today is Trend Micro. And again, I want to reassert, Trend Micro has been a phenomenal sponsor of the CISO series. And they've been in the security game a long time. So they will have a nice historical perspective on where we have been with cloud security and where we are going. All right, 7 different ways to participate in the chat room. Most of you who have been on before, you know all of these. Just have fun in the chat room. Give us bad ideas. Give us good ideas. The bad idea prompt today is how not to secure the cloud. And also we want tips on how to improve cloud security. Remember, label it bad idea, or 10% to let us know. Vote in the polls. Anybody can come on if you'd like. Just type bring me on. And our producer, Aaron, in the back, will try to get as many of you on as possible. Also, we want lots and lots of good questions today. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, go ahead and ask a question, please. We want to do that. And please vote for your favorite question because hopefully we'll have a lot and we'll want to know which ones are most important to you. Our schedule, we have the good advice, bad advice, worse advice, bad ideas, and good ideas. We'll play the public interest. We'll vote how not to secure the cloud. We'll play that totally sucks. And then you will vote for your favorite tip to improve cloud security. We will also play the Department of Yes, last question, final advice, and then our meetup. If you've never been to our meetup, it's a ton of fun. Get a chance to meet your fellow cybersecurity professionals. And just for those of you looking to hire or get hired, people have met each other and been hired through that meetup. So take advantage of it. Our next show, by the way, will be next Friday, October 14th, Hacking Data Protection, an hour of critical thinking about what works best to protect, track, and know who is trying to access your critical information. We did this very topic a couple of years ago, and we are going to revisit it and see what's changed. Guess what? There's a link at the very bottom of the screen. If you click on that link, you can register for the chat that's next week without taking you out of this chat. I always stress that. You'll still very much be in this chat. You just get to register for that. And if you register early, you're automatically entered in a raffle to win a CISO Series jacket. Congrats to this week's winner who is not contacting me back. So if you're here, Kripal, you've won. So ping me back and I'll send you your jacket. Kripal Patel from the Kelly School of Company. All right, enough of that nonsense. Let's get to our discussion at hand. And let's start with just the basic discussion, Mark and Mike. Either one of you jump in here. 5 years ago and today, what are the same exact security problems we're having with the cloud for all this time? What has not changed? Either one of you jump in on this.
Well, I can tell you what's not changed is CISOs are still pulling their hair out. That's why Mike has hair and I don't, is simply because, I mean, he's one of the good guys. He's one of the guys that's out there, working for Trend, has got a good job, but I'm pulling my hair out because there's so many things going on right now. And, you're right. It hasn't changed. We're still dealing with ransomware. We're still dealing with nation state attacks. We're still dealing with advanced persistent threats. The one thing that's happened,
say all of that has gone up in those 5 years.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. The reason I'm now down to my scalp is because it's just become worse and worse. 5 years ago, actually.
Bone.
Yeah, we're getting there. But 7, 8 years ago, so even beyond the 5 years, we were dealing with nation state attacks that were going against the federal government with, taking the security clearance information out of the out of the various
OPM
offices
there.
there,
Yeah.
and we're still dealing with it. So, yeah.
Michael, let me ask you: would you go back to the problems we had 5 years ago versus the problems today? Because it's just worse. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Yes.
Yeah, worse. And unfortunately, some are just the same. I mean, I'll go on the other extreme, the basics, misconfigurations. We're still having issues from that. Scrambling to fix open source vulnerabilities like Log4Shell. This stuff should start to become muscle memory, but it's the same story.
Let me ask. Let's go back to the misconfiguration situation because the answer to this could be both, and that is misconfigurations a case of just the person dealing with it is not adept enough to know how to configure it, and so it's not skilled people configuring the clouds, or is it the situation of the drift problem as the cloud keeps getting updated, things protections start loosening or falling down, or new controls get introduced and that just don't get addressed? Where is the problem? And the answer could be all of the above.
I definitely agree there's a bit of both. I mean, if you look at let's go with the not understanding the systems enough to set the right settings. Stuff's moving so fast in the cloud that this happens. I mean, there's going to be settings that maybe should be turned on, but you haven't turned off. But I think the real problem with that is that the people maybe building the infrastructure, the developers, DevOps, their goal is to get the system to work. So if the system works with that setting on or off, maybe it's not their core focus and maybe they'll get around to it. And
Oh,
that
there's a
leaves
lot
things
of get
insecure.
around to it. And I would also say, going back to you, Mark, a lot of this configuration stuff are, like S3 instances that are long forgotten that have not, maybe they were or were not secured, but whatever it is, it's not in, it just shouldn't be there.
Right.
Yes, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the typical thing that's going on. It has gone on in IT for 20, 30, 40 years, however long we've been doing this, depending on how long you've been doing it. I know I've been in this for 30, 35 years now. You build something, you secure it, you're really focused on it, and then you move on to something else and you forget about what's over here. And I don't really like to always go back to COVID, but I want to take us back to 2 years ago with really exposed this kind of stuff is when people were left with nothing better to do, when kids were sent home from school in March and April of 2020 and they had nothing better to do because the teachers weren't ready to teach, we found out real fast where the systems were that weren't patched and the ones that weren't being paid attention to, because even the script kiddies were getting into those and having a heyday at it. And, I think 2 years on, after we went and did a scramble to patch those kinds of things, 2 years on, here we are. And I'm betting, I know for a fact that we're forgetting about those systems that we patched 2 years ago again.
But, and think about that with all computing. Who really goes back to anything that they did a few months ago, lit around years ago? I mean, it is the nature of computing to ignore this. So let's talk about these issues, and we can take them one at a time here. Is there a way to tag things like this? Is there a way to label things? How is Trend Micro dealing with this very issue, the easily and quickly forgotten problem?
Yeah, it's a good point. And, I definitely think about this all the time, right? You can only focus on a couple things, or some would even say just one thing, really. So as soon as you're looking at what's new, just like you say, you're forgetting what's old. And really, that's where the tooling and
By the way, it's
automation.
our nature. It's
Exactly,
nobody's doing
exactly.
ill will. We all do this.
Yeah, no one can focus on 20 things because that's the opposite of focus, right? So use the tools. Computers are great at doing repetitive tasks over and over again. They should be checking for
What
vulnerable
are they
operating
checking? Can you give me
system.
a little into the weeds here? What's going on?
So look at the libraries used in your applications. Are there known vulnerabilities? Look at your configurations of your cloud. Has the service provider added a new setting that could make you more secure or that makes your current settings less secure? It should be looking at that stuff all the time and telling you, hey, this thing that you're not paying attention to, just like my good advice, now's the time to pay attention.
Right. It's the continuous monitoring piece.
Mhm.
And one of the things that really helps me remember or go back to, PCI requires us to scan once a quarter or pass the scans on once a quarter. I, inside of our environment, do it on a monthly basis, because if I make, and we're a cloud provider. So if I make a change, and let's say I apply a patch, and that patch has a ramification that causes another hole to open up, that scan should pick that up. And it's going to, comes up on my dashboard and tells me whether it's critical, high, or low. So I'm using the systems, but I'm also using my head and using my own analytic skills or my team's analytic skills to find that. But on top of those scans, and it could be we're making a change, it could be the customer's making the change. So when you're talking the cloud like this, there's so many hands in the pot that even if you know what changes you're making, you may not know what changes are being made on the back end. And the continuous monitoring of those is an essential piece to ensuring that you're secure going forward. And if you're doing it once a month, then you're probably pretty good with scans. But if you're waiting that, checking that box for PCI and doing it once a quarter, or even worse for other requirements that scanning isn't really a big deal, HIPAA doesn't call out scanning directly. So if you're only doing it once a year to get, determine whether your hardening is intact or not, you're going to be vulnerable for the other 11 months of the year.
All right, I want to just mention a few things. I'm noticing here, and I think this is a creative, innovative idea, bringing back Clippy to give you alerts about old vulnerabilities, which I think is good. They're referring to evil Clippy, but actually, this kind of Clippy idea actually sounds like a pretty good idea to bring it back. Let me remind everybody to click on the link at the bottom of the screen to register for next week's hacking data protection. This is going to be a really, really good discussion as well. And let me ask you just another quick question, then we'll jump into our next game, or first game, actually. What I think we kind of answered this question before, but is the reason these problems keep happening is it's just human nature, like human nature of we're fallible, we only pay attention to the thing that's right in front of us, there's too much to configure, maybe we don't have enough tools. I mean, why do you think these problems still keep occurring? Could be everything I said and maybe more. Who knows? Mike?
I'll say maybe 5 years ago, you could say that the rate of change in the cloud was too fast to keep up. And I think it is very fast, but 5 years ago, it was major whole categories of functionality being released. Every year at, say, a reInvent or something, there was a whole new paradigm. You can't really say that anymore. It's definitely innovation is even faster, but they're improving things, fixing things, polishing things, less major changes. Now I think it is more that focus issue. If you're relying on, good intentions from humans, you're not going to succeed. You need the tooling, you need the automation, you need systems to help you be consistent with it.
Mm-hmm. And Mark, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I would agree. I mean, I think we've already pretty well nailed it down from the CISO's perspective that, 5 years was somewhat manageable. Now here we are 5 years on, and it's, I'm pulling my hair out to keep up with everything that's going on. And that's not even counting on what's happening over in Eastern Europe and keeping an eye on that type of situation that could explode and boil up on us at any point. The reality is we have to have a good set of tools, and we have to have people that are analysts that are involved in operating those tools and maintaining those tools in order for us to continue
I want to double down on
stay
that,
up
on the tool thing.
Yeah.
I'll start with you, Mike, and please feel free, and I'm opening the table for you to speak about how Trend Micro is doing this. What tools have made the biggest difference for your customers? You can tell me anecdotal stuff, or if you even have hard numbers on, even better, in terms of dealing with essentially what it seems to be the answer of there's too much for me to deal with as a human, so I need to rely on these tools. What have your customers been leaning on the most?
First, I just want to give a shout out to Larry. That Samuel L. Jackson voice is a brilliant idea for product. I'm going to send that to the team, because if Samuel L. Jackson is telling you to update your libraries, you're going to do it. Man, I like that idea.
How about Darth Vader? We can get Darth Vader in there too.
Well, he just retired, actually, speaking of that.
I know.
The voice of Darth Vader.
There's no more. This is CNN.
Yes.
Oh, no, that was so powerful. But Samuel L. Jackson, that's an idea here. Okay, so the Trend Micro side, I think like I said, 5 years ago, you could blame the cloud, right? There's too much happening too fast. Now, I think it's really the point product mentality, right? Like there's a lot of different capability out there from vendors to solve individual problems, but even that's getting too broad now. And I think at Trend Micro, our big focus is bringing things together, that platform approach, so that you can look at Cloud One, connect Cloud One to your systems and help. It's really, we can help you with a lot of different things. If you're just focusing on one area, you're missing other areas, you're still vulnerable. So you need something that's going to look at that picture holistically. And really, that's where we're focusing on Cloud One, from developers right through to production, protecting that entire environment, whether it's misconfigurations, container environments, workload protection, malware in your S3 buckets and storage buckets.
So
You
the
need a
answer is
broad.
not any one tool. It's having a collection. And I'm going to get back to that after we play this first game, which
It's the
is
old
our,
multi-layer defense scenario.
whoops. Hold on. We can play our first game. 1 second. I'm coming right back to this.
Do you know what others are thinking? On the public interest.
Yes, Mark, by the way, multi-layer defense scenario. Yes. And I'm telling you, we're going to get back to this right after this game because I do want to address this. All right. Everybody knows how this game is played. It's pretty darn simple. I just need answers from the two of you because your answers to this will play into our other game called That Totally Sucks. What do you think people search for more, IaaS or PaaS? PS. By the way, what is the official pronunciation? Is it PaaS and IaaS? IaaS? How do people pronounce these things?
Official, like there's
PaaS.
anything official in security acronyms.
Exactly.
what do you think,
IaaS
A or B?
and PaaS.
What do you think gets more searches?
I'm going to vote A, IaaS.
Mark, what do you think?
Right now, I'm going with IaaS. A.
IaaS, and the correct answer is, oh no, PaaS, but 2-1.
By a long shot. Wow.
By the way, you know what? It's possible also those Easter egg things may be part of that search. You never know. The pause Easter egg coloring search. That might have tilted it there. All right. What do you think gets more monthly searches, cloud security or security awareness? As we are in security awareness month, October.
Oh, yeah. That's
It's got to be a trick question. Because, we fell for the last one with going IaaS. So, I'm going to go with D, security awareness.
D, security awareness.
I'll be contrarian and go C.
Okay. By the way,
You're probably right,
0-0 because you got the first one. So you're saying C. Mark is saying D, and the correct answer is it is C by a long shot. 5-1.
Yeah, I knew it would be.
All right.
I was just playing along.
1 for Mike, 0 for Mark. All right.
There you go.
What gets more, dark web or shadow IT?
Ooh, I'm going to go dark web just because it sounds creepier. Dark web.
What do you think?
I'm going dark web because the days are getting shorter and insurance companies are talking about dark web.
All right. And the correct answer is dark web by a major long shot there.
No
not
kidding.
long shot, but
Wow.
by a large margin, excuse me. All right.
I
our
think
very
people are
last
just
one.
trying to figure out what it means.
Yeah.
2-1 right now. Mike has 2, Mark has 1. And the last one is encrypted password or password hash. What do you think?
Gee, encrypted password. I don't think anybody outside of security IT knows what hash is.
Ooh, yeah. I think I'm going to agree with Mark here and go G.
G? A surprise.
Oh,
It is
really?
password. That shocked me.
Where are you getting your status from?
That is this shocked me as well. I did not believe that. But yes, password hash. There might be some other term for password hash that we're not thinking of. All right. I want to get to a topic here that came up. I was in a discussion with a bunch of CISOs. And by the way, there's always been this endless discussion of, best of breed or platform, best of breed or platform. But these two CISOs said, I only look at platform plays for the following reasons. One is, and the primary is, I need simplicity in training. Now, one of the complaints of integration or of best of breed is the integration issue and the complexity, and that you'll need to engineer a lot of stuff to get it all to work together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a common one. But they argued, I need simplicity in purchasing, but I also need simplicity in training. And that was the big, big one. And he goes, I don't look at point solutions because I just got to get my team up to speed quickly. And this goes to the discussion of layer defense and holistic. I'll ask you, Mark. I mean, I'm assuming you're using Cloud One in your environment. Yes.
Not yet. We're getting
Not,
there. We're
you're
using
getting
the
there.
we're using the IPS device from Trent.
Your IPS. What I'm assuming you've had to train people on stuff. Oh yes, we got our poll is live. I'm sorry, but let me just mention that the poll is going live for the best bad ideas. Please vote on your best bad ideas as we will be playing the game, the Department of Yes game soon. What is, I guess, both the cost effort and the security effort of training and getting people up to speed to use the tools that you have? Like, give me the explanation of walk me through that process.
Well, you would think that we sat for hours before this meeting and decided, or this conversation, decided how we were going to flow everything through, but we really didn't. But yet it still flows because from a training perspective, if I'm going to buy point product, best of breed point product, that means I'm buying a different product at every layer, every piece of my environment down, which means that I have to have people that are trained on those, not only to operate them, but to be experts on them. And that goes back to our conversation a few moments ago of how much can a human being's brain actually hold? How much can we actually retain and be good at what we're doing? And so you brought up an interesting point that the CISOs like the platform aspect because of simplicity. And when you're buying a platform, you're really buying a bundle of things where you need to have one set of training that will handle many aspects of it. Okay. And so when you're doing that, you're cutting down the amount of information flow into a human and the interactions that they have to have with it. You're having one dashboard that impacts multiple things and so on and so forth. So, the bottom line is, yeah, we would love to have one platform that would handle everything. But doing that, we also have to be careful in that one platform creates a weakness, because if there's a vulnerability in that platform, then that means that vulnerability covers the entire, or potentially covers the entire spectrum of that platform as well. So how do we handle the training? Right now we throw people at it. We throw scenarios at it. We look at our people and say, okay, who has an interest in vulnerability scanning? Okay, you're going to be our vulnerability scanning expert. And in that, we strategically look at how can we come to a platform for vulnerability scanning, maybe not for the entire security suite. When we look at network perimeter defense, okay, how can we have a platform that's focused on network perimeter defense that allows somebody to be an expert at network perimeter defense, but not the back end web application firewall, and not the back end systems on the cloud that reside on the virtual machines or on the virtual hosts. And then we'll get another group of people that are responsible for that back end piece. So we kind of create silos instead of one big platform. We create silos that allow for people to become experts in that area, where their overall knowledge on perimeters and networks, for example, can have impact upon the product. So that make a little bit of sense?
Yeah. Well, so essentially you have everyone has sort of a base level knowledge, and then you have certain experts that are in
Right.
certain silos, right? That
Right.
totally makes-
Exactly.
Mike, walk me through, because I'll tell you, it was a really interesting conversation I had with these CISOs, because they kept doubling down. I'm like, no, training is so friggin' huge. Like, people are missing the point. And I can't wait for people to take months and months and months to get up to speed across so many darn platforms. And they were really, really stressing, like, it's only platform for me. I am literally looking at nothing else right now. And I argued, if that's the way a lot of CISOs who don't have an enormous engineering team are behaving, I got to assume that everything's going to fall into a platform. Like, eventually, that's how everything's going to go. What are you seeing in terms of training the staff, getting people up to speed, things like that? Walk me through.
Yeah, I think the real trend, kind of that whole concept of point products, point solutions,
Mhm.
it's destined to fail because there are just too many points these days. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
And I would argue, though, because I've talked to some CISOs who have an enormous engineering staff, and that's the way they go, but they've got such amazing resources to pull that kind of stuff off, and it totally
Wait.
makes sense in their environments.
What companies are those? I want to sign up for those companies if they have amazing amount of resources, because CISOs want resources.
Oh,
Yeah, it
well,
feels
do,
like
they
a
do.
mythical
They do
beast.
have resources, but it's definitely not the majority. And I will say a lot of these are the more software-based technologies out
Mm.
there that already have a huge engineering staff for their own product. Uh, in those cases, and that's what I've seen most of. But go on, Mike.
Yeah, first off, I love organizations that can leverage their engineering development talent for product and security use cases. We don't see that a lot. Usually we hear that constant refrain of a security team being dramatically outnumbered by development teams. That makes sense when you think about the business interests, right? Like we're delivering value to customers. That's the core area. Securing it's important. So often we hear that we don't have enough people. But even if you did, even if you got enough people, you don't want them focusing on kind of every single one of these points. And that's where I think the platform comes into play. You mentioned training as well, right? Like you want to have
Well,
a
this was the critical thing
consolidation.
these CISOs were saying. Yeah.
Mhm. And if you have enough people, you can probably train them to be those subject matter experts in different areas if you have enough people and you have enough time. But we always hear that we don't have enough time and we don't have enough people. So a big view for us is that the platform isn't just about taking point products and putting them together. That's definitely one big benefit. But it's also when you have a dashboard or 10 dashboards, if you have to go and look at it in order to get the value, if you have to be an expert in order to understand them, you're really kind of focusing on the wrong thing. Instead, we want the platform to be smart enough that even if you're not an expert or you don't have enough people to become experts, it can proactively kind of come to you and tell you and say, hey, here's a problem and here's a recommendation on fixing it. If you look at our cloud conformity product, it's not just telling you, hey, this is misconfigured. It's giving you advice on how it should be configured, how to do it. And that means you don't need to be an expert on those services. You can get the value because the product is giving you advice. And I think that's where the industry has to go. We don't have
And
enough
and
experts.
and I want to just throw something on it, and this is in no way sort of downplaying the value that Trend Micro is putting out there, but we've heard this line before: "Don't let perfect be the enemy of good." Like, just figure out a way to get up to speed quickly. And second, we did this whole thing, what we called Camry security, or Honda. The idea is when people keep advertising themselves, we're the Cadillac of this. It's like, well, I don't need a Cadillac. Like, I just need to get to my location. The Camry and a Honda is perfectly fine. You know,
Mm-hmm. Or for that matter, Uber's perfectly fine.
there you go. Um,
I agree. People
Well,
love to
wait a minute.
focus on the magic and the super
because,
deep technical
we're all geeks.
solutions.
Like everybody here, we're all geeks. We love cool stuff. And one of the other things is like if you go to either Black Hat or Interop, they have these things, these network operations centers or SOCs that just have the best stuff in it. And for that reason, it's kind of cool to see it because we're all cool people. But the other thing is, and I just go back to these CISOs, it's like, I got to get up to speed. I have a certain budget. I got to get this working. Like there's a certain point reality sets in, and it's like, what are you going to do to move fast and get working? And honestly, this, this sounds so mundane, but that's an innovation in itself, isn't it? Just to realize that.
It is. I mean, you'll never get a conference talk accepted, but we spend a huge amount of effort, a huge amount of thinking on just a brand new customer. They sign on to Cloud One. The first thing they need to do is deploy, connect something, right? How can we make that as short and seamless as possible so that they can, with just a tiny bit of effort, start getting that security value? If you say, oh, well, you have to go deploy across your organization, talk to dev teams, talk to these people, it's dead before it starts. We need to get better at getting the security out quickly.
Well, and I think
Sure.
something else that we have to be careful of in the security, it's something you mentioned, David, is that the cool or the geek factor on the tools. Lots of times the cool and the geek factor is not what we need because the business doesn't understand that. The CEO is not out in most companies. The CEO is not out there looking for the cool and the geek factor. What they're out there looking for, in that whole CIA triad, is they're wanting to make sure that their application or whatever product that we are selling is available to be sold to the widest audience possible to increase their EBITDA, increase their revenue piece. And we as CISOs need to really take a step back on that and look, do we really need the cool factor? Do we really need the geek factor? Or do we need to get it done? So going back to your automobile piece, do we just need to get from point A to point B and it's got a little bit of rust on it and it still works? Or do we need that Cadillac to get us over there? If you're in a financial industry, you probably do need a Cadillac scenario, or the federal government scenario. You need that Cadillac in order to meet your customers' demands. But if you're in another industry that isn't as highly regulated, then you just need to get there. You need to allow the business to work and run and get out of the way. That's really, unfortunately, where some CISOs, they get in with that geek, that cool factor, and that's what they want to do.
All right, we have our next game.
Uh-oh.
Oh no, that totally sucks.
All right, we have 12 scenarios. 11 of them stink at varying degrees. One of them is good. And I'm trying to remember who's what color. I'm going to go back to looking at what my producer Aaron told me. Mark, you're blue. Mike is red. Okay.
All
There
right.
we go. By the way, everyone get in and vote. If you have not voted on the best bad idea, please get in there and vote for that. And also click on the link at the bottom of the screen to register for next week's chat. All right. Mark, since you got you got more wrong than Mike, that you have to pick 4 of these items and Mike only needs to pick 3. The idea is at the end, your 4 items you will pick and the 3 items that Mike picks describes your scenario, and the audience will vote for whose scenario worse or whose scenario sucks the most. All right. So Mark, pick a number 1 through 12.
All right, I'm going to go with 6.
All right, we're going with 6, and that is, traveling employee brings their phone to a local repair shop and provides login credentials. Ouch! All right,
That sucks.
That's not good.
Ask Cisco.
Pick another number.
All right, I will go with 12.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, not Mark. I'm sorry, Mike. I'm sorry,
Mike.
Mike.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, I'm going to go with lucky number 7.
Lucky number 7 is, the sock hasn't seen any alerts in the past 24 hours. Is that good? I don't think so. You would want to see something there. Whoop. This does this every now and then because it's hiding stuff on me. I'm going to get this back up and running again. Hold on. Come on. There we go.
I thought maybe we'd get out of it. No disasters anymore.
That's
No,
right.
you're going to get disasters. All right.
We get to start over again, Mike.
Pick another number. Mark, I'm sorry. Mark, back to you.
All right, I'll stick with 12.
12. All right. 12 is you discover your automatic backups were not doing their job.
Ooh.
So they were not backing up.
Shivers.
That's not good.
That never happened.
All right, Mike.
Let's go number 1.
All the way over here for number 1. And we get the employees took bribes to install remote access software. Oh, Mike.
Bad on
Why
so
did
many
you let that
levels.
happen?
They took bribes. This wasn't even a mistake. Deliberate.
All right, what number?
I'm going to go with 4. We're playing tic-tac-toe here.
4 is your MSSP suffers an outage and you're without monitoring for 24 hours. Kind of like this red one in a way, sort of.
Yeah, maybe.
Kind of. Because not seeing any alerts in 24 hours kind of to me sounds like you
Yeah,
haven't had any
something's not
monitoring in
working.
24 hours. All right, last
Yep.
one for you, Mike.
All right, I guess tic-tac-toe mode. I have to pick 8 to stop your vertical line there.
Okay, good point. Oh, geez. It's doing it to me again. Hold on. All right, hold on. There we go. Whoops. Let's see if this works. Yeah. It did it again to me. All right. Why is it doing this? This is frustrating. And now I have to remember who had what here.
Oh, yeah. Computers never work when you want them to.
I know. Here we go. Boom. Boom. 12. You had this one. You had
Yep.
this.
Yeah, 1 in the
Mike-
corner.
Mike was 1 and I was 4. And then he
and you
picked
were
8.
4.
We're playing
then you
tic-tac-toe for
picked-
sure.
And you picked 8. And then a malicious update has been delivered to users of your password manager. Not good. All right, last one.
No, that was mine.
You get one more, Mark. I'm sorry, Mark. You do one more.
All right. I'm going with 10.
10 is, this is, I think, the good one. Yes, a successful ransomware attack is thwarted and you publish your technique. Good job.
Yes.
Excellent.
Publish
All
it
right.
too, so they can do it again.
All right. So put up the poll. Please put up the poll for, we're going to hide the poll periodically or temporarily for, why is this going off? We're going to hide the poll temporarily for the best bad idea. So the mark is blue. So the traveling employee brings their phone to a local repair shop and provides login credentials, but he successfully thwarted a ransomware attack. MSSP is down for 24 hours and your automatic backups were not doing the job. Or did Mike have the worst scenario with the SOC not having alerts for 24 hours and the employees took bribes to install remote access software and a malicious update has been delivered? Mike, not
taking
looking good
bribes.
for you.
Come on, man.
I know who I would vote for.
All right, I'm going to give everybody 10 seconds. 10, vote, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are done. And who is our winner here? Let's going to find out who won so far. Between Mike, you won 11-3. By the way, there's a lot more people on. Why aren't you all voting, people? Get in there.
11-3. There's got to be like 50 or 60 people on there that are remaining silent.
There's a lot more people. I know.
Maybe they took bribes and they just didn't want to admit it.
Oh, maybe that's the case.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, how come we have no questions, audience? Audience, get in there with the questions. Let's get some questions. Lots of good bad ideas. By the way, we're going to be playing the best bad idea in a few minutes as well. But I have my own questions. Let's talk about what's working better in cybersecurity. So,
Kevin, bribes count as employee bonuses. Take credit. Nice.
Good
nice
job.
one.
All right. So let's see. I want to ask both of you. I'll start with you, Mark. What is, and we'll use that 5-year window we started with, what's working better in cloud security? Like, what do you feel that we're getting ahead on in cloud security in the past 5 years?
Well, some would probably disagree with this, but I think there's more attention on cloud security right now from maybe from the wrong people, but reality is that, you know, things like the certain pipeline that had issues, a certain manufacturer that had issues with administrative passwords in their monitoring tools, things like that have resulted in regulatory or executive orders coming down from federal government type of scenarios that, and I am not a regulatory type of person. Trust me, I deal with compliance all the time. But, you know, reality is there has to be something in place with that allows us to have a baseline guidance from somebody with some authority, because if not, then we have the Wild West. You know, this cloud entity decides what they want to do. That cloud entity decides what they want to do.
You're cheering regulations.
I'm hesitantly hesitantly and reluctantly cheering some regulations, because I think there are truly critical infrastructures that if they're not properly, I would say, have some oversight on them, we're going to be in a big trouble way. And I think that's a big difference from 5 years ago to now, where we all resisted any type of regulation. Then the privacy regulations came down, and now we're seeing some additional pieces. So reluctantly and hesitantly, yes.
All right, I'm going to throw the same question to you, Mike, and then we got some audience questions as well, and we also have our game. Mike, 5 years, where has been the most impressive impact in terms of, okay, we're heading in the right direction for this, for cloud security?
So I think a lot about building product, building solutions. So that focus that we talked about earlier on ways that can make security easier so that it actually does get used more, ways that it can get deployed. I see cloud providers doing a lot more product enhancements, functionality that are specifically designed to allow security tools to get into more places, see more things, install easier. And all of that small tweaks of innovation really come together to make it much more powerful for solution providers like us. We're able to provide much better security than we have been able to in the past, because the cloud providers are really recognizing kind of where that's needed, where we need to provide value, where we need to hook in. I love that.
That's good. And you know what? I think this might slightly dovetail to this question that came from Dustin Sachs. How do you think the pandemic affected the layperson's understanding of the cloud and cloud security? Because, we need everybody's help here. And I'm interested to know, like, since the pandemic, the average person knows this. Mark, what is that?
They know that they can still operate because of the cloud. I think the pandemic has resulted in people, from the work from home revolution. People have realized that the cloud is a benefit to them. The cloud is their friend. Otherwise, so many people would have been out of a job and out of responsibilities and not getting a paycheck. We saw in the restaurant industry where somehow people couldn't work, but then we saw the DoorDashes and the things like that start operating, and people realized that those are in the cloud. And then, as the trickle down effect occurred, we saw that, people that were everyday people now having to apply security controls that were coming from the cloud into their home computers, into their home systems, has resulted in an awareness that we didn't have before. It used to be, oh yeah, those computers were just somewhere, whether they were in the data centers locally, whatnot. Now people actually talk about, yep, it's in the cloud. That's where it's at. So there's awareness going on.
So increased awareness. Mike, anything to add to that?
I was going to say people have learned to share their screen on Zoom calls, but I don't think that's actually really happened even with the pandemic. I think, there's that adage, every company is becoming a software company. I think the pandemic really is shifted. So it's kind of removed all doubt that business cannot function without functioning cloud services, cloud resources. It's really essential now, more so because of the pandemic, to every business that you need these services working in order for business to proceed. So risks like ransomware, impacts from these breaches are really becoming core to the value that businesses can provide. There's no doubt anymore.
All right. As soon as we actually have our cloud, our best bad idea poll is actually not showing right now. So, there it is. Now it's showing. Okay. We are going to now play our next game. So hold tight, guys. By the way, if you have not voted, if you not registered for next week's, please do that. And by the way, I want to throw out a shout out to a regular, Dwayne Gran, who I saw early on announce that he passes his CISSP. So kudos
to Dwayne. A round of applause.
Way to go, Dwayne. That's awesome.
Congratulations.
All right.
Yeah, it's a big one.
So let's play their next game.
Hello, welcome to the Department of Yes, where no request is ever rejected.
All right, we all know how this game's played. This one comes from Kevin Hackinson, who I don't think we've seen you in a while, Kevin. So welcome back. And I'll have you play first, Mike. Both of you are playing, but you're going to answer first, Mike. Here's the bad idea. You have to say yes to it, and that is. And Kevin says, sell your corporate data center to a wholly owned subsidiary named with cloud in the entity name. What do you think of that? Should you do that?
Okay, so this is a good way of moving to the cloud. Let me see here. You've sold this to a subsidiary. So maybe you can also, now you're kind of turning yourself into an MSSP or hiring your cloud company to manage your cloud. I think this has a lot of wins.
I do like that. Yes! Mark, why do you want to do this?
Why do I want to do this? Why do I want to sell my corporate data center to a wholly owned subsidiary with the cloud in the name? Well, here's the biggest reason why I would say we should do that. And we should say yes to that from a security perspective, is because with cloud in the name, we could turn around and use that as marketing opportunity. It says cloud, put anything in the cloud. So it's a marketing opportunity. And we could put cloud in front of any type of security function we want to do and promote security with that. So, how we have the IX, we could say cloud security. We could say cloud application. We could say cloud anything, and it will fly because everybody wants the cloud these days.
Sir, yes, sir. I like it. Good answer. All right, here comes our next one. And this comes from Brian Colt. rely solely on whatever controls your CSP, whatever they provide out of the box, your CSP, your cloud service provider, whatever they provide out of the box, rely solely on that and nothing else. Mark, why do you want to do that? So, by the way, unfortunately, Trent's not going to get involved in this. So, Mark, why do you want to do this?
Well, why we want to? Because it's a turnkey solution. So you don't have to do anything inside of your organization. Your cloud security provider will take care of it all. That's why we want to do that.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yes, we all believe that.
We all believe
yes,
that.
I'm gonna give that to you. That is what we believe. But it'll reduce also your cost of having to buy other solutions too. Mike, why do you want to do this? And again, keep in mind that you do work at Trend Micro.
So we do actually hear this question from people, right?
It's
Like,
yes, I'm sure. Why don't they handle this? Doesn't my cloud provider handle this?
yeah. And okay, so Department of Yes, though. So, okay, you want to do this because, okay, so when you get breached, you can rely on your cloud provider to totally back you, right? They're going to pay for all the damages. They're going
No,
to
they're not. Hold on, wait
provide
a
the
second. Slow
cyber.
down. I don't think that's going to happen at all.
Agreed.
All right. That good round of Department of Yes. Let's get back to the questions because we actually did. When I complained to the people we had no questions, I got a flood of questions all of a sudden.
Well, good.
And, by the way, good 10% tips are coming in right now. I like this one from Kevin. Actually, our two bad idea people gave us two good ideas, or the two most popular good ideas. One from Kevin Hackinson. Target, and let's get your feedback on both of these. Target 10% reduction in cloud resources and permissions every month to think about unused assets and least privilege. Good. And let me also add in Brian Colts here. Many commercial SIMs have cloud integrations. Leverage them to the fullest extent possible. Mike, what's your take? You like these two tips?
So the 10% reduction in assets, I think, is really interesting because stuff does tend to accumulate over time. Roles in particular, when we're thinking about, authorization management, I really like that idea. Just if you keep trimming 10%, then you'll really optimize the stuff there as stuff you really need. So I really like that one.
Well, I think it's a proven method. We use that with top grading of our employees. I know that's a bad thing to say, but the reality is we do. If we're management, if we're leaders, if we're CISO, we're always looking to trim that part. Even a small business owner, we're looking to trim that 20%, that 10% that's not making us money. So why wouldn't we do that in IT and say, hey, let's reduce 10%, maybe not on a monthly basis, but certainly on every 6 months, every annual basis, to take a look. What really isn't doing anything for us? What's costing us money?
All right, good point. Here, another question I want to go to from our audience as well. This is a good question that comes from Mike Wilkes, who says, and let me see if you can answer this one, Mike, to see if you are in tune on this very issue. For Trend Micro, how long does it take to integrate a business acquisition to make it properly part of a suite/platform? Do you know the answer to this?
This is a great question. So I actually joined Trend Micro through acquisition.
Okay.
I was the CTO of Immunio. I lived it. And so it's slightly, this is before Cloud One existed. Actually, this is one of the products that we built into creating Cloud One. So how long does it take? I think depends a lot on.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to add to his question. As you're saying, how long does it take? What are the elements you're dealing with as you're integrating?
Yeah, good point. So I think there's two main questions, right? So if it's a very distinct capability, so you've got a platform and it does not have this capability, and you bring in a company that does have that capability, then that tends to actually make it quite quick, right? Like you can start with a relatively coarse integration. You're just adding that capability. And then the deeper integration that really is the value of a platform kind of comes after. So, within a year, this can be to market kind of fully rolled out if it's a very distinct capability. But if it's, you're enhancing a capability with an acquisition, that can be much, much harder because now you're actually finding out how these things can integrate before you can even bring it to the platform. That wasn't my case in terms of my acquisition.
Low to high with timeline. Low here, high here. What do you say?
I'd say very high there, multiple years before it could be fully integrated.
And the lowest, like the fastest you can integrate is how quickly?
I think potentially very fast, 6 months if it's a really distinct, really good
Okay.
fit from the start.
We're 6 months to multiple years. All right.
Mm.
Let's go to another question. Okay. Clayton asked this one, and I'm sure you deal with this, both of you. Hybrid cloud, good or bad? Do you need two sets of tools?
Excellent.
Mark,
Excellent.
what's your
Hybrid
answer?
hybrid cloud is excellent. And I think that is the solution for many large companies going forward. And I would argue that you can create your hybrid in the same data center, same location, same physical location, or even varied location through various tools to create that hybrid cloud. So, and I think it's a solution for especially large companies, Fortune 500, Fortune 50 companies that want to retain certain pieces of information, certain aspects of the build process. So you may want to have, for example, a mainframe system or even some back end database types of systems that are very locked down, very well controlled and managed and maintained by your own people, but you want to be allowing those to connect to a cloud application that's running on a platform as a service or an infrastructure as a service environment with your cloud provider. And if you look for data center operators and data center providers that have those types of solutions, we're one of them. You can literally put your you can literally put your internal pieces 30 feet away from the cloud environment and have low latency and high impact to your environment. So I think it's an excellent solution, and it's a very balanced security solution as well.
Mike, let me ask you this question comes in from Leah. Would customers go multi-cloud all at once or start one at a time and build on top?
So we usually see a one at a time and then build. Often customers will start in one cloud and then make the decision that they want to be multi-cloud, either for the diversity or for accessing a specific offering.
But
Usually
do they
tends to
ever
be.
say we have to be diverse out of the gate or
Mhm.
no?
Oh
How
yeah,
does
definitely happens. Usually because they don't want that feeling of lock-in with one vendor.
right.
They want to maintain a bit of duality, or they want, often with like more advanced solutions, machine learning and AI stuff, they want it from this vendor, but they also need something else from this vendor. So definitely can be right from the start.
Well,
And
let
kind
me
of to the previous question, you need tooling that will give you that single view across all those clouds and the hybrid environment. I think that's
So
fundamental.
so then what you're saying is it doesn't matter to you whether your customers want to go multi-cloud or not.
No, I think it's pretty much inevitable. I just assume that every customer I'm talking to is multi-cloud and or hybrid cloud. It's just the reality.
That's the trajectory because if we want to talk about 4 or 5 years ago, a lot of cloud providers were selling, hey, never going to go down, never going to be a problem. But what we've seen is the reality is that even the largest cloud providers have had outages in regions or even total outages of their environments for even a few minutes to a couple of hours. And if you go multi-cloud or hybrid cloud, you can solve for those solutions because you're diversifying. And I think that's one of the lessons that we've learned over the past couple of years is you can't be single threaded anymore, even with a high capacity, high performance, big name cloud. You have to be diverse, hybrid, whatever you want to call it.
All right. I'm going to wrap up the show and then come back with closing comments from both of you. Aaron, get ready to change the button at the bottom, but we're going to change this in just a second. Click the button at the bottom of the screen right now. If you have not registered for next week's Super Cyber Friday, please do that now because that button is going to change in just a second. Just want to remind everybody that next Friday is Hacking Data Protection. It's going to be a super fun show, guaranteed. It's just as much fun as this show. We try to maintain the fun. That's our goal here. Maintain the fun. So hacking data protection, that's next week. Remember, you register early, you automatically get entered in a raffle to win a CISO Series jacket. By the way, registering early is by next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, but why not just register now? Hey, huge thanks to Mike's company, Trend Micro. And Trend Micro has been a fantastic sponsor over the years. And I just really like the fact that you've been around for so long. You've been essentially slowly improving your product offering through acquisitions and development. So kudos to Trend Micro for that. And thank you so much for being a great sponsor of the CISO series. Hey, I should have changed this because he had to cut out at the last second. But starting in 90 minutes is our Cybersecurity Headlines Week in Review show. It is actually not Dan Walsh. It is actually going to be Patrick Benoit, who is the global GRC/BISO for CBRE. He will be our guest. That was a last-minute change yesterday. That is on our YouTube channel, on the CISO Series YouTube channel. Check it out there. Stick around for our meetup. Go ahead. Change that link at the bottom of the screen, Aaron. This will be for our Toucan portion of the show. You can click on it now. We'll be there in just a few minutes as we wrap up the show. That is a lot of fun. If you've never been, please come and join us. It's a great chance to converse face-to-face with your fellow CISO Series people or fellow cybersecurity professionals as well. And tell your friends to join us. We do this every Friday at 1 o'clock, 10 a.m. Pacific. And if you want to sponsor Super Cyber Friday, we got 4 left in 2022. Contact me at david@cisoseries.com. All right, we have just about 4 minutes left. I will start with you, Mark. Just in a minute or two, you wrap up your thoughts in this discussion about cloud security, specifically around innovation, where we can make advancements, where we have your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. So cloud is the future. Okay. There's no question about that. So now we need to be thinking about, like you said, the innovation, where are we going next? And the products that, the trend offers, the platforms that are out there that we've discussed earlier are essential to ensuring that you're secure in your environment. But the piece that I don't want us to forget, so we can go out and buy products, we go out and do that kind of stuff. The piece I don't want us to forget is the fact that the attackers are constantly going to try and work around us. And if we haven't learned from what we've seen going on this summer with the MFA fatigue type of attacks and things like that, the key here is going to be security awareness going forward. People need to be aware of where the cloud is, how to secure the cloud, and how to maintain the security within your organization. It has to be built into your culture. Go and change your culture if your culture is not currently security minded, if you will. And if you build a security minded culture, here we are in Security Awareness Month here in October, go build that security awareness culture inside of your environment, and that will overcome a lot of the challenges that are going to be out there as we move forward in the future, including in the cloud.
Good tip. Mike, your wrap-up thoughts on this. And by the way, any pitch for Trend Micro, Cloud One you'd like to make? And also how to get in contact with you? And I'm sure you're hiring, yes?
Yep, always hiring, always hiring. Yeah, Trend Micro's been around for a long time, and we do have, we talked about earlier, that deep technical expertise. We've got that at our core. But at the same time, we have been kind of riding the waves, trying to be innovative in new areas. And our Cloud One platform really is the kind of culmination of all of our technical and kind of customer understanding in that cloud security space. It's that single platform view that we're building that we talked about on the show, trying to make it more proactive, more helpful to our customers, because ultimately our goal is really to help our customers be secure. And whether that's through a product, of course, we love that, but it's also just, we're available to help. We always hear from our customers that they love talking to us because we're helpful. So definitely reach out, find out more about Cloud One and our platform. You can, find out on our website, cloud1.trendmicro.com. Or I think we've got some links as part of the show here. So take a look for more information and reach out, talk with us. We'd love to hear from you.
All right. And you're going to be at the meetup, as will you, Mark. So
yes.
You're going to click the button at the bottom, and everybody else is going to click the button at the bottom and join us over in Toucan for a live chat time. We'd love to see you over there. Please, and let me stress this. For any of you who are super green, you're like, well, I don't know, I can't hang out with these incredibly, bright, super smart, cyber
handsome,
people.
handsome.
Let me remind you, Mark isn't that smart. Oh, just
Nope.
kidding.
Nope, I'm not. I'm just a common sense kind of guy.
No, Mark, you've been fantastic this whole show. What I want to point out is everyone is so welcoming. We have such a wonderful, warm community out here. So please, please, please come join us. Thank you very much, Mike Milner of Trend Micro and Mark Haupt of DataBank. Thank you so much. And Aaron, to our producer, who's been doing an awesome job this whole time. Flawless. Take us out.